It is Miss Kepley here, and today we're going to look at figurative language, more specifically the vocabulary that makes up figurative language. So first, what is figurative language? It's using figures of speech to build meaning beyond the literal, and literal means actual meaning. So the words and phrases mean more than what is written on the page. And it has different levels of meaning. And so we're going to dig deeper into that in just a minute. But let's talk about why do authors do this? And so the purpose of figurative language is to bring out emotion in readers. And it helps you make images in your brain. Because without this figurative language, what you read would be super boring. And shockingly, you would probably have a hard time connecting with it. So you might be a little bit bored of talking about figurative language all the time, but it does have a purpose. So let's talk about the different types of figurative language. First, we have simile. And simile is just an indirect comparison that typically uses like or as. And it adds emotion and paints an image for the reader. So let's look at an example. She is as happy as a cat riding a unicorn through space. Wow, that's pretty happy. You can probably picture that in your head. Imagine how happy this girl would be to be just like this cat riding a unicorn through space. That's pretty happy. I would be happy. It sounds fun. All right, next we have metaphor. I kind of think of this as like brothers and sisters. So simile is indirect. Metaphor is a direct comparison between two objects. It doesn't use that like or as. It doesn't need to. It's more direct and to the point. And so the purpose of this is to describe one object as another. So the object almost becomes what it's being compared to. So here's an example. Her long hair was a flowing golden river. You can see that in your head. So if the author just said she had long yellow hair, blonde hair, you'd be like, huh? But now you can really picture how it flows down her back because of this metaphor. So it didn't use like or as, it was a direct comparison. You knew exactly what was being compared here. Up next, we have personification. You can see how I underlined person because personification gives human traits to something that is not human. And so this allows the reader to better understand and connect with the non-human object. So some examples would be animals, actual objects, nature, and ideas. So here's an example. My alarm clock yells at me every morning to get out of bed. So obviously the alarm clock can't yell because it doesn't have a voice, but you get the point of what the reader is feeling, not the reader. The character is feeling when the alarm clock is yelling at them. So we're giving human characteristics to something that's not human. Next, we have onomatopoeia, which is a fun word to say. You can just pause the video, try to say it out loud. Onomatopoeia. It's super fun. And it's words that resemble the sound they represent. And so authors use it to help the reader feel like they're actually in the story by engaging a sense of sound. And if you're reading a poem, it's often used to give the poem rhythm and to bring out emotion. So let's look at an example. The baseball whizzed past my ear straight into the catcher's mitt for strike 3. You could probably feel that. Like, put yourself in his position. The baseball whizzing past the ear. That whizzed word is the onomatopoeia, and it puts you in the character's shoes so you can feel what they're feeling. We have alliteration next, and it's the repetition of the beginning consonant sounds within a group of words. So the purpose is it can provide a quirky, fun, attention-grabbing effect. And alliteration does not have to start with the same letter, just the same sound. So let's look at an example. Kathy can't cook chocolate chip cookies continuously, can she? There's a lot of k sounds. Even though Kathy doesn't start with a C, it still starts with that same k sound, so it would be part of the alliteration. And that's fun. We have imagery, which I absolutely love. I underline the word image. So it's the use of language that engages the five senses: hearing, sight, taste, smell, and touch. And it creates an image in your head. So the descriptive words provide the reader with a mental picture, and it can be used to better understand what is happening or to become engaged in the text. So if the author just writes, she walked down the street, well, that's kind of boring. But if she walked down the ice slicked sidewalks while bundling herself in her warm coat, you kind of get a better image of what's happening there. So an example, the scruffy black cat back arches and hair stands straight up when it encounters the chocolate brown snarling dog whose teeth look like little knives covered in butter. Wow, what great image. I don't even have to put a picture here because you can take all of those words and create an image in your head. There's also a simile in here. Bonus points if you can find it. If you said snarling dog whose teeth look like little knives covered in butter, then you're right. That is our simile. We're comparing the teeth to knives covered in butter. Can't you see that in your head? That's the purpose of figurative language. It makes it so you can create these awesome images in your head as a reader. Next, we have hyperbole, not hyperbole, hyperbole. And it's an extreme exaggeration. We probably use these a lot in our life. The purpose is to emphasize a point, to add drama or some comedy to a story. And the more outlandish, the better. So here's an example. Finally, on the millionth time he asked her out on a date, she said yes. He felt like the king of the world. Well, he probably didn't really ask her out a million times. If he did, then we're moving into stalker territory. So hopefully that's not the case. But he was probably consistent and maybe asked her out a couple of times. But it creates that drama for us. So we know his desperation and how much he really likes her. There's also a simile in here. Did you catch it? Yes, it's right here. He felt like the king of the world. So you can put yourself in his shoes and feel what he's feeling. Love this figurative language. We have an idiom. Idiom is an expression that means something more than the literal definition. So if you looked at it and you just read it for what it was, you'd be like, that makes no sense. So it means more than the literal. It's just sayings that we use in our culture. And the purpose is it's just another tool to increase your reader engagement and add comedy. If you just looked at the literal meaning, it is usually totally weird. So let's look at an example. If you don't zip your lips, I will zip them for you. Zip your lips is a saying. It's an idiom that we're used to in our culture, which means to be quiet, stop talking. But if you looked at it literally, you'd be like, that's weird. Zip? You can't zip your lips. It's just a saying that we have. It's an idiom. I like, well, that was a piece of cake. You know, when you describe something that's easy, obviously it's not a literal piece of cake. It's just something that's easy. Those are called idioms. Finally, we have something called an allusion. Allusion with an A. And it's a brief and indirect reference to a person, place, thing, idea of historical, cultural, literary, or political significance. So it's just a reference. And it should be something that you pick up on. So it enables writers or poets to simplify complex ideas and emotion. And usually it's just a passing comment that the author expects the reader to pick up on. For example, let's not go there. It will unlock Pandora's box. So Pandora's box is a reference to a story in mythology. And Pandora's box symbolizes opening up something that will cause a lot of trouble. So instead of saying, if you open it up, it could cause a lot of problems, they use this allusion. It will unlock Pandora's box. So the author expects you to know what that means. And there's my little image there to go with it. And so that is all. If you would like to review your vocabulary words that we just went over, there is a link to a Quizizz down below, so just click on that and then you can practice all of these vocabulary words. If you're an ELA teacher and you would like more activities to go with figurative language, just look below and I have some things there for you. Otherwise, that is all we have for you today. I hope you have a great day. Until next time, bye.